Before I get started, I'd like to kindly ask that you hit the like button, and please subscribe to the channel for more content just like this.
All I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
I don't know how many of you noticed, but I decided to start reviewing shows a bit differently. Basically, the plan was to not give an individual rating to each episode, and to just give you my general thoughts on each episode instead. And then I was going to give an overall rating to the entire season, and that's what I'm going to do today. And honestly, I'm pretty glad that I decided to start doing it this way on a show like Moon Knight, because it would have been redundant for me to give the same exact unimpressed rating to each and every episode.
No shit.
I also kind of decided to do it this way because it actually benefits the show, or at least I thought it would. Because sometimes when you get the whole picture, it makes things a bit clearer. Well, I'm here to tell you that that didn't happen at the end of today's finale. I'm not kidding you when I tell you I feel like I just wasted 6 hours of my life. At the very least, I thought, well, the finale has to be better, or at least more entertaining. Because we are going to get the inevitable final confrontation in a big battle, of course, right?
Whoopie fucking do. Hey, I'm impressed.
But even that confrontation, which we did get, felt anticlimactic to me. So much so that when the episode actually ended, I stopped and thought to myself, that's it? But when I stop and think about it, it's actually a fitting ending to the season, because for most of the time when watching it, I consistently found myself asking, what the fuck is the point of all of this? And after 6 episodes, I still don't know, and at the end of it all, it feels like we're right back in the same position that we were at the start of the series.
Fuck me, right?
Quite frankly, nothing has changed other than maybe a character or two dying. First and foremost, I want to talk about Layla, a character that I predicted would be the bait and switch character of this particular series. To be honest, it wasn't exactly a bait and switch like I predicted, but she was offered the opportunity to become Moon Knight and decided against it because she didn't want to be enslaved like Mark is. Which honestly is a viable reason not to do it, so I kind of appreciated that.
My, how the tables have turned.
But what it did was it actually led her to becoming her own superhero, when she is taken as an avatar for another goddess, and she becomes the Scarlet Scarab. The first Egyptian superhero in the MCU, by the way. And I'm sure the Twitter crowd is rejoicing right now. In her introduction, she does also save Moon Knight when we finally get to see him after some time away. So no, there's no bait and switch, but the poorly written female heroine trope that is pretty common in Hollywood right now continues here with Layla. All for the sake of diversity, of course.
Because it's all part of the plan.
The actor who plays this character even said through Marvel.com that, quote, I hope that people who can relate to Layla feel seen and excited. Yes, because Egyptian or Middle Eastern characters have never existed prior to the MCU. This is starting to feel like Shang-Chi or Captain Marvel all over again. Another character even asks her in a line of dialogue, are you an Egyptian superhero? To which Layla responds proudly, yes I am.
Message!
Subtle, isn't it? But people want me to believe this is top-notch writing we have for the Moon Knight series, am I right? Surprise, surprise, the incel has a problem with the first female Egyptian superhero. Newsflash, man baby, the character wasn't written for you. It was written to represent all the little girls out there in the world who need someone to look up to. Your racism and misogyny shows more and more every day, and that's why you deserve to be cancelled. As for the underwhelming version of Moon Knight that we get in the series finale, we find Mark, who comes to the conclusion that he has no interest in eternal peace, and he wants to go back and save Steven. He even says that Steven is his real superpower, presumably because Steven was basically used for him in dealing with the trauma in his childhood. But I'm not going to lie to you, I kind of chuckled at this line when he said it. I don't know if it's because of how the line was written or how it was delivered, but it just came off as so cheesy to me. In fact, I've seen a lot of people praise Oscar Isaac's performance in this show, but I would say that his abilities have actually been underutilized and that the writing hasn't helped him at all. Call it a hot take, call it a real take, call it whatever you want, but I just feel like most of his performance just came off as very hokey to me.
Fool this man!
The Steven and Mark do reunite in the afterlife, and they are allowed to return to Mark's lifeless body. When Mark wakes up, there is a full-on god battle happening inside of the pyramid between Khonshu and the goddess Ammit, who has taken the form of a giant CGI crocodile. You would think that if Marvel and Disney didn't intend to put a lot of resources into this shoddy CGI, that they wouldn't write so many characters into the story that require CGI. Just a thought, they could have found other creative ways to portray these gods and goddesses in a way that doesn't make them look like shit.
That makes sense.
Meanwhile, Moon Knight and Mr. Knight switch back and forth as they battle Harrow, that being Ethan Hawke's character, and I knew that's where we would eventually end up with this split personality idea, taking something perceived as a weakness and turning it into his strength. And we have Marvel characters once again finding themselves in the most convenient way possible.
Man, I'm tired of being right.
But as for the Superpowered Brawl, it felt incredibly underwhelming considering some of the other Superpowered Brawls that we've seen in the past. And by the end of it all, Harrow is defeated and Ammit is trapped inside of his body. Khonshu tries to convince Mark to kill Harrow, which would kill both Harrow and Ammit once and for all. But of course, Super Layla ends up talking him out of it, and Steven had previously negotiated with Khonshu to have him and Mark released should everything be resolved. Khonshu agrees to these terms and Mark and Steven end up waking up back in Steven's old apartment.
Game over, man. It's game over. What the fuck are we gonna do now?
And that's it. It really felt like they were trying to wrap everything up in the quickest and easiest way possible. And for that, I am somewhat thankful because I am free from my obligation to continue to watch this show. There is an after credit sequence, because of course there is, because it's a Marvel property, that shows a third personality called Jake that Khonshu still has control over. And he uses Jake to kill Harrow just like Mark wouldn't do. Does this mean we're getting more Moon Knight? I don't know. I really hope not. Last I heard, there was no plans for a second season, but things do change over time.
Son of a bitch.
I can't imagine why they would, considering this season alone felt so uninspiring. Moon Knight as a whole was just a complete failure to me. It never really felt like they embraced or truly understood the character they were trying to adapt. This would have been a great opportunity for the MCU to take one of their characters seriously for once. But in the end, we got a goofy, glossed over version of Moon Knight that didn't really get the story he deserved. The whole show just felt very inconsequential and forgettable to me, from its basic writing to its dreadful CGI and everything in between. That's why I'm going to give Moon Knight Season 1 the Angry Rocky.
That's right, it stinks!
So have you seen Moon Knight? If you have, let me know what you thought about it in the comments down below. As always, please like, comment, share, subscribe to the channel, hit that bell for notifications, and I'll see you next time right here on Real Shift. Thanks for watching. Peace out.
Y'all be cool. Shut up.